My purpose here isn't really to teach the complete theory of cloth and sewing or whatever that has to do with everything else. But, it's really about, there's so much information out there. If you want to find out about fabric grain, just search the internet. You can find videos on YouTube, you can find information from books, dictionaries, anything you really need in terms of facts. The funny thing about facts is, there are some things that just are, but I find a lot of times when I look things up, they sound very conclusive, like, this is it, this is the way it is, and this is the way you need to do it. And that's never true about anything. I think because my approach really is one of making do and creating less waste and making things useful, I tend to break a lot of the rules that would be in place if it was just the optimum situation where I could have everything I needed and not worry about wasting anything and have a specific result based on someone else's experience. So what I present here really is just alternatives to a lot of those things. And I think we all develop those things as we work. They're really common sense. And in terms of fabric grain, I don't really think I have ever really paid attention to it, but I think probably instinctively, having been a weaver, I understand basically how the cloth is constructed, and I do understand why there would be less stretch if I followed the thread lines. These things are just simple things, But it doesn't really mean that you can't use cloth that you can't cut on a straight line. And I think that for me, with all the little tiny scraps around here, I very rarely have the opportunity to cut on a straight grain. I have on occasion had problems with the stretch in cloth, and over time I just developed methods to make it easier for me to take the care in handling them. For clothing, it's very, very different. You're working with one layer of cloth. How the garment is constructed has a lot to do with how it moves with the body, and the body moves within the garment and stretches it out of shape. So that's a whole other thing, because there's a function there that you need to pay attention to in order to create a certain performance. But in a quilt, unless you really want absolute perfection and care about that more than the use of the cloth or making use of scraps, it's really, really not necessary to cut on the straight grain. You can do it where you can, but you can also take some precautions, and probably you might develop some of your own to keep things, straight enough for you to work with them.